everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. I've really been looking forward to this show ever since I knew it was going to happen. It's something I've been working on for a period of time, and that is to share with you a vintage 80s era CD player, sort of a first-gen component compact disc player, specifically with a 16-bit DAC. Now, the way today's show came together was unexpected, and for the way it came together, I'm extremely grateful because we are doing this as a collaboration between Record-ology and my new friend Graham over at Spare Time Repair. Now, let me stop you right now. If you haven't heard of Spare Time Repair, you need to check it out. It's an incredible show. He repairs everything, but a lot of CD players. He does record players, and unlike other repair channels, he will seek the repair success out to the nth degree, no matter what it takes, fabricating parts, rewiring stuff. Terrifying territory for a novice like me, but fascinating. I've learned so much watching his videos. Anyway, he provided us this incredible Sanyo CD player from 1986 that I can't wait to share with you. You're not going to want to miss this. So before we do anything, I want to give a massive thank you and shout out to Graham over at Spare Time Repair. And if you haven't checked it out, you need to hit pause on this video and go hit subscribe on Spare Time Repair. There'll be links everywhere. His channel's just phenomenal. It's so therapeutic to watch him take a broken piece of equipment, usually a CD player as of recent, although he's done turntables, everything, tape players, and watch him bring it back to life. And I love just listening to his voice as he calmly goes through and completes it. My wife also enjoys his videos as well. I've been watching like at least one a day lately. Just so cool. And then the other thing is he'll take something that seems way too far gone and somehow make it work. And it's just really cool. So a big thank you to him for allowing us to take a look at this unit and to review it and all that good stuff. I'm really excited to add it to the collection. Now, as you guys know, I've been really wanting to get my hands on a vintage 80s DAC CD player. And this CD player is 1986. It's the last year that Sanyo used their old logo. This is the CP-710. And before we do my review, I want to cut to a quick montage edited version of what Graham did to restore this unit.
It's actually less pristine inside than outside. I mean, there's nothing rattling, so maybe that was deliberate. These two are still intact. There is a residue of something on the bottom plate and on the PCB. I'm also noticing this huge cutout in the tray. Snip some of these cable ties. I think I can leave that one, and this gear is stopping it sliding off the top. Like the Fisher player I looked at recently, the eject mechanism is a mechanical one that just operates this leaf switch, and the eject button is just this solid piece of aluminium on a spring. I think I've got to disassemble the whole thing basically to get that belt off. So let's remove the disc clamp first of all. The lens doesn't look too bad on first inspection. I haven't got much slack, but I think that's far enough. It's interesting, it's only using 2 motors. You normally see 3, but the laser sled is being moved by the same motor that's operating the tray. This gear is completely flexible. It's like it's rubberized. And I guess that's how it's meant to be, but surprising. This one only needs a very gentle clean. Hopefully that will suffice. You can see it's a very simple display, only digits. And as expected, it's very clean inside here. We'll just take these buttons out. And the buttons are plastic. Fix my grounding wires. Finally back together. I won't refix the remote sensor just yet. There's that greasy residue again on the tray. So I do think this was probably used in a kitchen. But yeah, look at that cutout scoop. It's like taking most of the tray out. But I'm going to give this a clean before I refit it. And I'll just prop that in there with the helping hands while I go and clean up the case. I like how the tray comes to a controlled stop. It sort of slows down as it gets to the end.
Wasn't that incredible? So cool. But look at the styling of this unit. It's so angular. The use of color is just awesome. The labeled IR sensor. Remember, everything back then had the labeled IR sensor. We've got the Philips and Sony branded icon here that has to be licensed, and that's why you never see it used anymore. A mechanical switch on the open close mechanism, a mechanical switch on the power, the chrome touches. It's just gorgeous. The color scheme especially just epitomizes this era, 1986, 1987, and whoever had this took really good care of it. And you may be saying, well, it had to be restored. Anything that's as old as this is going to need to be restored. So like I've said time and time again, my introduction to CD players was with this, the CFD 55 Sony boombox. This actually did have a 16-bit DAC, and I still have this unit, but everything after this, everything subsequent, the D131, the Kenwood portable that I had, and every other CD player along the way was a 1-bit DAC. And obviously everything post 2000 is going to be a multi-bit Delta Sigma. So really, you got to go back to the 80s, because the cusp was like 1990, 91, when everything went from 16-bit to 1-bit. And you may be saying, well, why do you want 16-bit? 16-bit was the OG way to translate the 16-bit depth of a compact disc from a digital signal into an analog signal. And some audiophiles to this day prefer that method, and that's why you've got these R2R ladder DACs, which are essentially an exploded version of what was put in an IC in these old 16-bit machines. So it's just a different way to get the sound out. This has got a higher noise floor. It's less efficient. There's little switching errors and little imperfections, but I'm excited to experience all of those things because I want to hear the character of this CD player. On the back panel here, this is metal construction. Everything's metal. You're not going to see a whole lot of plastic. That being said, yeah, this is probably a mid to entry level unit, even back in the day. But I think it was a quality one. The fact that it's still working as flawlessly as was seen earlier is testament to that fact. So this was made by the Sanyo Electric Company of Osaka, Japan in April of 1986. And like I said, this was the last year of that old Sanyo brand logo before they switched over to the modernized logo. Also, it's kind of interesting that this says Sanyo Canada Incorporated. So I don't know if this was a Canadian issue version of this versus a US version. I'm not 100% sure. And you're going to notice only analog outputs because there's no digital out, there's no optical out, none of that. You are going to use the built-in DAC. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sort of a cursory tour of the features of the unit. For now, I've got it connected to my Bluetooth speaker via line input. There's a aux cord going on back there. Also, this thing has its remote control, which is equally as beautiful and cosmetically perfect as the unit itself, which is just amazing. So to begin with, the sound is going to be ambient, but we will do a direct feed in due time. But to begin with, let's power this bad boy up and take a look at some of its features and go from there. Okay, dim the lights a little bit. Let's go ahead and power it up. I love the fact that it's got this mechanical switch for the power and this beautiful vacuum fluorescent display. I guess that was the last year of that. To open and close the drawer mechanism, another mechanical switch. And you're going to notice something interesting about the tray. Let's look closer. You'll notice with older CD players that they will have these like spring-loaded little plastic pieces. And you may be saying, what on earth is that for? Well, in some older mechanisms, rather than have the laser assembly and the whole spindle mechanism come up from below, it is actually fixed into place. And then the CD is lifted up by way of these little plastic spring-loaded deals, higher than the spindle. So when the drawer pulls back, the CD goes right over the top of the raised spindle, and then through magic, these little things lower out of the way, and the disc is lowered safely onto the spindle, and then a clamp comes down from above. So that's, if you've ever wondered why they do it that way, that is why. So we're going to put in Laura Ainsworth again. She's going to be our test subject for today. All the chrome is making it surprisingly difficult to film, but it's a happy problem to have. So let's go ahead and close the disc tray. and it will read the disc, table of contents, all that good stuff. We've got 12 tracks totaling 53 minutes and 51 seconds. Next year's model went to a liquid crystal display. So functionality wise down here, we've got a repeat function, so we can toggle through repeat. I'm assuming that's the whole disc or not. So that's the one, that's the choice. And then we also have a programmability feature. Pretty amazing considering this is 1986. This is like first gen CD players, right? Then we've got a search capability, so we can scrub left and right, and the play pause button and a stop button as well. And again, this is all ambient, so you're just hearing off of the microphone on the camera. Right off the bat, even just ambiently, I can hear the sound difference in this DAC without even a direct feed, which we will get to. So yeah, if we wanted to program tracks, I assume all we do is hit memory. Maybe we have to do it from a stop state. Let's hit stop, memory. Maybe we have to hit 2 buttons. Okay, program and memory. Memory every time you program in a track, and then hit play to run the program. Did I do it right? It shows this lit up because it has a program stored, and it goes from there. I think I did that right. Maybe I did that wrong, but that's the gist of it. Something else you might have noticed is it doesn't have a headphone amplifier built in. So literally the only way to get sound out of this is through the line outputs. But isn't that styling just amazing, and how beautiful this unit is? Okay, so here's a top-down look, and this is super cool. I love this stuff. So again, don't try this at home, kids. You don't want to power stuff up with the lid open, but I want to show you kind of how things work. And you can see the clamp right there. It's just a work of art. And again, he went in here as the expert he is and totally made sure everything was fine. My understanding under the hood is so much more rudimentary than his, obviously. One thing I do want to point out, though, is the 16-bit DAC, which is right down here. The DAC is a Sony 20152. This will have a lot of Sony components in it because it was pretty common at the time to have Sony components or another brand's components in a device that isn't necessarily branded Sony. And a couple of Mitsubishi chips back here, these are the op amps. So this is the analog stage after the audio gets handed off from the DAC. Harder to see, but a bigger chip down here. This is another Sony IC. That is the Logic MCU chip. So it's basically the controller, or the computer device controller on the board there. So those are the main talking points.
There's a saying old says that love is blind. Still we're often told, seek and ye shall find. So I'm going to seek a certain lad I've had in mind. I'm a glum one, it's explainable. I met someone unattainable.
Okay, so here's where it's set up in my system. I was amazed I was able to find home for this thing because this rack is pretty full. But I put it right over my late 90s Sony 5-disc carousel. That's the CDP CE345. I think that's like 99, 2000 maybe. It's like the last model before the USB model, and it's still working flawlessly. It features either a 1-bit DAC. By this point, the 1-bit DAC branding wasn't quite as marketable, so it doesn't say 1-bit DAC on it, but it may be a 1-bit DAC or an early multi-bit DAC. Either way, it's Delta Sigma. Nestled right on top now is this beautiful 1986 Sanyo CP-710 with its 16-bit DAC and a lot of Sony internals, including the actual transport mechanism, the pickup, all of that stuff. A lot of the ICs, the op amps, as we saw, were Mitsubishi, but pretty much everything else was Sony. And I really like the sound signature. I hope that you did too. And it's different, right? It has a different, less pristine, but charmingly so sound. In my initial listenings, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time with this, which I will. I have the luxury of being able to work next to my sound system a lot of the time, so I'm going to be listening to a lot of different types of music, and we'll surely see it on another episode of Record-ology down the road. This was sort of its welcome video. And again, I would highly recommend Spare Time Repair. Great channel, incredible, knowledgeable host. Graham does a great job, not just as a host, but also working on these units. So super entertaining. And then, yeah, I've got my Fozzy DAC up there, which is connected to the Sony via optical. And again, this guy, all it has is analog out, so it's going straight into my sound system. If you remember, when I was talking a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, about this video coming, I mentioned that I wasn't sure what I was going to do for inputs because I'm kind of limited. I've got this Audio Authority 5-input mechanical switch, which is tapped out. Off camera, I've got my Pelican 4-input switch, which is tapped out. So I actually ended up looping this through my Yamaha cassette deck, which is a good pass-through. It's a good analog circuit, so I don't feel like I'm going to be losing much there in terms of degradation. Ultimately, I need a switch with more inputs. If you're wondering why I don't just get a receiver with more inputs, I don't run a receiver. I actually run powered speakers, and all the equipment is mechanically switched. It's just the way I do it. It's the way I always have done it. All right, my friends, and that's going to do it for today. Again, go show Graham some love over at Spare Time Repair. I know you would appreciate it, and I would appreciate it if you do that too. It's a great channel. I'm a fan, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to review this beautiful CD player that he restored. It sounds and looks wonderful. If you didn't hear already, we're giving away a Fozzy visualizer, just like the one we reviewed recently. We have another one new in box, and the only way to find out how to win that is to check out our latest podcast, which was posted this previous Wednesday. So you're not going to want to miss that. But that's going to do it for today, guys. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.